rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive? For a front-engined performance car, what's the best layout? Well, this week we're in Wales, both Aaron and I in both our cars, to see which is the best car for it in this wet, windy and horrible Welsh weather. Front-wheel drive camp, we've got the Megane RS250 Cup, and from the rear-wheel drive camp, we've got the BMW M140i. Let's settle the argument once and for all. What is the best, rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive? Welcome to Fast and Fun.
Today's big question, front wheel drive or rear wheel drive. Obviously we've got both the cars out, the M140 and the Megane.
I'm following Aaron in the 140i. The Megane front wheel drive, it's fantastic, and it's really core to that is its ability to get that power down to the front wheels in atrocious weather conditions, even though it's used for steering as well, and through that limited slip differential and that LSD, and it just staggers me how the Megane finds grip, especially in these conditions. Just for note, the car runs on Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. Very, very good in this condition. For me, probably the best tyre. Certainly in bad weather, they're fabulous. Aaron just pulls a little bit on the short straights here. There's not many, fortunately, and that's where he can deploy all that 335 brake horsepower, so an extra 85 brake horsepower he's got over my Megane. But fortunately, around here, there's a lot of twists and turns and bumps and cambers and flooded parts on the road, and that advantage is not as much as you would have thought. One thing I have noted, though, I feel like I'm quicker through the short, slow corners, second, third gear corners, through things like this here. The Megane feels absolutely planted. Just looks a little bit sketchy in the rear-wheel drive. 140. But certainly the rear-wheel drive 140 feels better in the higher speed stuff. I'll jump in the 140 in a short while, but just bouncing from corner to corner here. Now we're sort of plunging down now, and some few sweepers here. Megane is just, I'm staggered at how it finds grip. It really is amazing.
Absolutely sketchy as hell. You can just feel the car moving around at every moment, honestly. Done out with them little buggers either. You can sort of predict when it's going to spin, as long as you're not an idiot and you're not flipping, coming on boost halfway around the corner, flat out. It's really containable actually, and I mean, if you turn traction control off, it's a whole nother ball game. Obviously it's just you and the car. In the dry, I actually drive with traction control off quite a lot, because I like to feel the car's rawness. I like to feel when it's really at its limit, and I think there's no other better way than doing that than turning the actual traction control off itself. So yeah, to be at one with the car, definitely turn it off. Would I recommend it in the wet? Absolutely fucking not, because you really can't predict when it's going to step out. They're quite a short wheelbase car for the power they are, so they are really snappy, and yeah, especially with an open diff.
It's not a sports car unless it's rear-wheel drive. Rear wheels are for the power, front wheels are only for steering. And I get that, loosely. and it is a purist view. And certain manufacturers have stayed loyal to that thought. But today, this is actually back-to-back driving a really good front-wheel drive car and a really good rear-wheel drive car. And to actually say, for every type of person, for the everyday person that we are, the most of us are, we all think we're racing drivers, but we're not. We all think we're great drivers, but most of us are actually probably just average. And for 99% of the time, we're driving on the road. We're not driving on track. And so the question is, for the road, which is actually the better? So let's talk about some of the core principles of front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. Why do most manufacturers go front-wheel drive? Well, it's because it's cheap, it's because it's low cost, it's simple, and ultimately it's safer, because if you induce too much power while you're steering, the car will lose traction and will gently understeer, and that is a safer option than going into an oversteer position, which would get with a rear-wheel drive car. When your rear wheels through a corner lose traction under power, your back end will slide, causing oversteer. So they are some of the principles. But I suppose for me is, cars have been set up now to deliver optimum driving. Renault Sport, yes, I am a little bit biased having owned two of them, but this Megane is set up absolutely brilliantly, and it is golden nugget is the fact that it's got this thing called a limited slip differential. So LSD, what is it in really simple terms? Well, most cars have an open diff. Why do they have an open diff? Well, it's to enable, when you go through a corner, the inside wheel won't travel as far as the outside wheel, therefore it needs to disengage. That's great when you're going through corners, but if you want to put power through those wheels, either front or rear wheels, and in an open diff, incidentally, just like the M140i, which has got an open diff, then if you put too much power down and one of the tyres or wheels loses traction, then it will just spin up that wheel and you'll lose all your power. Whereas a limited slip differential only allows the wheels to slip a little bit, and then it will lock them, and then it will release and then lock again and release and lock. And through that limited slip only, it means that if you're putting power down through either the front or rear wheels, you won't lose your power. And you can feel the LSD working in some cars. Certainly in this Megane on track, you can really feel it pulling and tugging, trying to keep the power in, prevent understeer, and get the power down onto the road to propel you forward. So this has got a front LSD. The M140i in the rear hasn't, and that's one of the disadvantages of the M140i, and I think it's one thing that Aaron will look at getting fitted on his, because it can be a frustration where he wants to have a little bit of fun, maybe do a power slide. Very difficult to do it because you end up just spinning up one wheel.
I cannot wait to get the LSD in it, because this open diff is super snappy. You feel like you've got full control, and then just bang, it'll flip in, throw it one way, throw it the other. I just cannot wait to have full control over the rear end. I think it'll really transform this car. I do not know why the hell they didn't come with LSD from factory, but there we go. BMW, next time, do it better. Give the people what they want. We want B58 LSD from factory. And then I guess the question is, do I miss having a front wheel drive car in the rain? And I think the answer is, yeah, I do a bit. Because you know, you can just come out of a corner and just stamp on it. And yeah, you get the wheel spin and everything, but you feel very in control. You're not on the edge of your seat. Sometimes I feel myself sat up in this car, like just waiting for it to snake out, or like I'm just waiting to catch it. Where in a front wheel drive car, I'm a bit more relaxed. You know, I can throw it into the corner. I have full confidence in it. Whereas this thing, I've got my confidence, but it's a bit edgy, you know. It's really edgy, and it does keep you in, like, your mind focused on the road a lot more.
And you can feel it skipping and hitting through the puddles and aquaplaning a little bit, but it is absolutely a delight. The steering is so precise, it's so direct. It's almost sort of subconsciously, I'm thinking of going right. You just flick the steering wheel and it's direct. There's no slack. It's immediate. It's a little bit on the firm side with riding on these 19-inch alloys, but it offers me everything. I know exactly what those front wheels are doing. And ultimately, in the corners, if I do push a little bit on, a little bit too much, you might use a little bit of understeer, but it's only a little bit. And if you lift off a little bit, it just regains its composure. It brings the back end round. It's just so well connected. It's not just about where the power's going, but it's about the adjustability. It's about the whole chassis and the suspension. And it's absolutely brilliant. It's really, really focused. It helps because you're in really nice driving position with these yellow dot Recaros. The pedals are in the right position, and everything I'm feeling through the steering, it feels alive, it feels on edge, it feels really well connected, and it's so adjustable through the corners. And it's telling me, it's not scary. I'm not scared or worried in these conditions because the car is giving me every bit of feedback that I want. So we've switched cars and I'm now in the BMW M140. It's a much more modern car. 8 years newer. It's a 2018 this than my 2010 Megane. And everything about the car just does feel that much newer as well. Can you feel it's rear-wheel drive? Yeah, for sure you can. You get the sense that you're being pushed and it's not being pulled. But by that very nature and probably my psychology knowing that actually this is rear-wheel drive, I'm just a little bit more hesitant in these conditions. Now that's probably no fault of the car, it's probably just me. I'll give it a few miles and hopefully I'll feel better. Again, there's quite a lot of changes. The brakes just feel that little bit more grabby than the Meganes. The steering's more modern in the 140. And I think with more modern cars they tend to be a little bit more artificial. But actually, do you know what? It's pretty good. You steer, it turns, it feels direct, and you can feel the car and you can feel the steering load up through the corner, which is really, really nice feeling. Probably not as communicative, I don't think, as the Megane. The Megane, you can feel absolutely everything, but that's just probably, that's the more modern nature of the 140.
Yeah, first things first, very stiff ride compared to the old BM. A bit luxury with the suspension on it. But already straight away got a lot more confidence in this. Really feeling the road, and yeah, it fills me with confidence, to be honest. I do really enjoy driving this car, actually. It is a fantastic car. I mean, for the money, Christ, you'd struggle to get something on this level for the money that Rich gave for this car. So I've got sport mode on, and that turns traction control off, and I believe it gives you a bit more power. Maybe the throttle's just a bit more responsive. It feels a lot more responsive. As soon as you turn it off, it's just all there. So let's give this a test now, I guess. And I feel totally safe turning traction control off in the front wheel drive car. So then one thing I noticed in this car straight away is that I have so much more to do. I have so much more to think about, changing gear, the ride's hard. It's yeah, it's a whole different ballgame in this thing.
The monstrous B58 engine is so good at pulling all that torque, 370 pound-foot of torque. The traction will be broke, absolutely. It can light up them rear tyres relatively easily in what can be only described as terrible weather conditions, but probably really good because of the low grip levels today. It's probably making the difference between front-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive more evident. Accelerate hard in the 140 and the rear squats down. You can feel the individual wheels scrabbling for traction, losing and then gaining traction again, and you can really play with it on the accelerator. It would absolutely be better with a limited slip diff in there, but even as it is, scrabbling, squirming, it doesn't affect the steering though. The steering still feels clear, it's direct, it's pure really. It's not interrupted, and very, very different to the front-wheel drive Megane. You soon learn with the 140 that you drive the whole car really. You get the turning, you find the mechanical grip of the front tyres first, and then through the corner on the exit you can play with the accelerator to deploy that power as needed. Very different driving experience to the Megane, where the Megane you just turn it in and the LSD scrabbles and scribbles and it's just all the time fighting for traction. What I suppose we want to know though is it fun? Is it fun? This stock 140, stock rear-wheel drive car, is it still fun? Absolutely it is, because you can play with the rear. You can, the slow corners it's more pronounced. Second, third gear, give it a boot in a tight little corner and the back end's going to start wiggling about as it's trying to gain and trying to find traction. What has been impressive in these terrible conditions is the grip levels, what the 140's found. Really, really high grip levels, and just be clear, grip is about that, the feeling between the tyres and the road. Traction's all about deploying power through the driven wheels. But grip levels was really, really high on the 140. It's just the traction, just deploying all that power to the two wheels. But it's fun, it's entertaining, and do you know what? As you drive it more, actually, it becomes really, really enjoyable experience. Because while you're doing that, the steering is, well, it's more modern, so it's not as, you don't feel as much as you do in the front-wheel drive car. But it's a more pure, it's not interrupted by the power coming on and off boost all the time.
So that's it then. Day done in Wales with both cars, and we both had a good drive in each one to see which one we prefer. Now, I know it's probably going to sound biased because it's my own car, but I just felt like I had so much more fun in the M140. Felt a lot safer in the Megane, even with traction off. It's a good drive. I love the car. The Megane is absolutely phenomenal. The way it handles and just goes through the corners and all. But yeah, it was just lacking that edginess. You know, this car just keeps me right on my toes. And yeah, you can drive the Megane fast, but it don't give you that scare factor, you know. So personally, I'd take the M140 all day long.
So what's my summary of today? Front wheel drive or rear wheel drive? What is the best layout for a front engined performance car? And I think the answer's really easy today. It's both. You shouldn't discount either. In fact, if you have a two-car garage, you need one of both. For me, what's more important is you get the right make and model of a car. Whether it be the front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, you get the best you can afford. You make sure the suspension and the setup of the car and the chassis is correct and it's refreshed with current, good quality components. And third, and probably most importantly of all, and more evident than anything today, is it rides on good, high performance tyres. And then you will have excitement, fun in both front wheel and rear wheel drive cars. I've loved my time today. It's been absolutely brilliant. They both deliver a very, very different driving experience, but one that I absolutely love. And I think the poor weather conditions today has really helped mark out the big difference between them both. The front-wheel drive Megane, it's all about that front-end turning, the scrabble, the feel from the steering wheel. It feels alive. You can feel exactly what's doing, the power, the steering, trying to get that grip, trying to get that traction down and pulling the car through at incredible speeds. The BMW, you drive more the front and the rear. Crisp, sharp turning, feeding the power, getting that traction, getting the traction a little bit loose at times. You can play with the front-wheel drive car, you can play with the rear-wheel drive. They're both very unique, very different experiences. And ones that I think we should all harness. So there's no, this is the better one. They're both great. And in the perfect garage, you'd have one of both. That's my view. Any thoughts by yourselves, please drop them below. As always, stay tuned. Another video next week. Thanks for watching, guys. So one thing a front-wheel drive can't do is this.